if you're not lost? What if you have just been living someone else's definition of success and now you're tired and you're ready to start building your own dreams? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Taking Up Space with Jordan. Every Wednesday, I like to drop in a YouTube exclusive episode that builds on the themes for my main podcast. Last week, we talked about the 7 methods to start discovering your dream, but today we're going to go into it a little bit deeper. So if you're ready to get clarity on what you actually want for your life, go ahead, grab your coffee, grab some wine, your notebook, or your emotional support pet, and let's get into it. Before you can get clear on your dreams, you have to recognize what is yours versus what is just noise. This means learning to separate your inner knowing from 3 major influences: the old versions of yourself, social media, and family. These are the voices that most often shape how you think, what you chase, and how you measure success. The truth is, you've lived many lives already, and you're aware of this. All of those versions, though, of you are still living somewhere deep inside. I want you to think of these versions of yourself as parts or as chapters of your life that you are consciously and subconsciously revisiting to guide that next move. The challenge is that some of those parts are carrying so much pain or memories from a harder time. They are going to try to protect you by keeping you safe and small, which can quietly block you from dreaming freely. That's why it's so important to navigate and care for these parts with compassion. You wouldn't rip pages out of a book just because you didn't like the chapter, and Lord knows that we have all been there. And trust me, some of my old chapters could definitely use a rewrite or two. But when you revisit those chapters or parts, it's important to gently remind those parts that where you are now is in a safe space. You're no longer in their survival mode, and they start to actually soften because they believe you. And in that quiet, what actually happens is new possibilities begin to appear because those parts, the ones that have been carrying so much pain and so much trauma and suffering, what they actually do is they relieve the driver to you. They're no longer the ones that are driving the bus. It's you, because they've developed trust. Clarity doesn't come from pushing harder or forcing answers out of yourself. It actually comes from peace, self-trust, and realizing for sure that those parts are not driving that bus anymore. You are, but you have to believe that. That also means, since you're in the driver's seat, that you can't be on your damn phone all the goddamn time anymore. The other major influence that can create noise is the algorithm. This isn't a hot take, but social media massively impacts how we see ourselves. You've probably said the algorithm is algorithming today, and it's true. It knows exactly how to push our buttons, from sad dog videos to heal your inner child in 10-second clips. It mirrors what's happening inside of us. And let's be real, it's also designed to sell us things that we think that we want. 1 minute you're fine, and the next 20 minutes later, you find yourself convincing yourself that you need a $45 candle that smells like main character energy. And honestly, girl, I bought it. It does smell like confidence and spending my rent money. But limiting screen time helps. But we can also train the algorithm to work for us. Being intentional, muting topics that drain you, following creators who make you feel inspired, grounded, or creative, searching keywords that reflect the life that you actually want, like, let's say, slow living, soft hustle, or even cozy witch vibes. These small steps help you take back your power. You're not just a passive scroller. You're shaping your digital environment to match the life that you want. And finally, our last major influence is our family. But as much as we may resist it, our families have a huge influence on how we see ourselves. The beliefs, expectations, and values that we grew up with shape how we define success, love, and even rest. But as adults, it's our job to build a belief system that's ours, not one that we've inherited. That might mean unlearning the idea that success only looks one way or that way, or that certain dreams are too big or too practical. So when you're navigating this huge influence, I want you to ask yourself, what did I want to be as a kid? And why did I stop? What dreams did I put down because someone said they weren't realistic? You don't need permission anymore to explore, to pivot, to start over. You don't need permission to take that flight. You don't need permission to try a new job. Each time you redefine success for yourself, you step closer to who you truly are, not who your parents want you to be. Once you've quieted the noise, you start noticing what actually energizes you, what feels like peace, and what keeps resurfacing even when you try to ignore it. Your authentic dreams do not shout, they whisper. They feel like alignment, not performance. They don't need applause, they need attention. So here are some signs that what you're feeling is actually genuinely yours. It excites you even when it scares you. You think about it in the quiet moments, not just when you're scrolling. You think about it before you fall asleep. You think about it on your way to work. It aligns with your values, and it's not just validation. It feels expansive, like you could breathe easier just imagining that life for yourself. And finally, you don't do it, or you'd do it even if no one ever clapped for you. I used to think that my dream was the fancy corporate job, the title, the paycheck, the you made it energy. I used to think that my dream was having the big house with the perfect guy. But when I had those things, I was deeply unhappy. When I got closer, it didn't feel like peace. The parts that I loved in my corporate job, the parts of my life, of my previous life that I loved, were the creative projects, the mentorships, the team events, the deep connection, and the freedom. That's when I realized I don't want status. I wanted connection. And that shift, that clarity, is what started to change everything for me. So here are a few micro steps you can start today to reconnect with your dreams, or at least find what brings you more joy, peace, and ease. Step 1, follow your daydreams. Ask yourself, what do I find myself daydreaming about at work when no one's watching? Our daydreams are not random. They're breadcrumbs. Sure, maybe your dream of living in a house made of cheese and isn't exactly sanitary, but if it sparks joy, who am I to yuck your yum? If you keep daydreaming about writing a book, running a marathon, or adopting a dog, listen to that voice. Those are clues. And if you're not daydreaming lately, start by listing what you want more of. More time with your dogs, more mornings that feel slow, more energy for things that light you up. Small desires build the blueprint of your dream life. It's okay if you don't know what your dream is yet, but it's not okay to keep hiding from the possibility of discovering it. You can't plan forever. There is no such thing as a perfect 5-year plan. You've got to just start doing it. So just take one step. Sign up for that pottery class. Record a voice memo if podcasting has been calling your name. Go to that event, even if you have to go alone. Curiosity builds clarity, and clarity builds confidence. The beauty of micro steps is that they don't require perfection, just willingness. Going after your dreams takes guts, but so does figuring them out. So if you're in the middle of that messy, I don't know yet season, give yourself grace. There's no such thing as a wrong move, only movement. Your dreams matter. They're not silly or unrealistic. They're just sacred. Join me next week for the next episode in this series where we're going to talk about how to take action without perfection and to stop being scared of your own potential. So get ready for the spooky season. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this with a friend who's also trying to rediscover their dream. And remember, keep dreaming, keep moving, and keep taking up space. See you next time. Kisses. Hi, everyone. I wanted to release a couple of supplemental videos to pair with last week's podcast episode, which was all about building routines that work with your brain. I had so